This is the Tack and Pulse podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek and another idiotic plan by Akiva Goldman, Alex Kurtzman, that really would have annoyed fans, in my opinion.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
So as you Trekkies know, following the end of the original series, there was a brief animated series, and it was pretty fun. They had those cat things in it that then spawned into the lower decks, the Doctor and lower decks. And there was a plan, apparently, according to Akiva Goldman, to do another crossover episode, like they did with lower decks, brilliantly, to be fair. But this crossover episode would have been in the style of the original series animation. Now, I'm going to read to you what this numpty said, Akiva Goldman, about this. We really wanted to do a TAS, the animated series made by Filmation in the 1970s episode, and for a bunch of reasons we couldn't quite get there. We haven't done a straight animated episode, and I don't think we will. Whether it would break the show or not, I don't know. Probably not. It's hard to know what would break it. I can tell you. This would pretty much break it. I think, genuinely, Secret Hideout is hanging by a thread already. I genuinely don't think they're going to be getting a new contract once Skydance take over at Paramount, as I've mentioned a million times before. And I really think that they cannot afford another Section 31. I keep hearing from sources over at Paramount and a couple over at Skydance how much damage Section 31 actually did. And every time I speak to them, I heard that it actually went up as far as Dave Ellison, that he basically was furious at the state of Section 31. Not just for the fact that how bad it was, but the fact that these people over at Secret Hideout thought it would be a good idea. You know, these are creative people over at Skydance. They make stuff, and they make pretty good stuff on the whole, not always, but they make pretty good stuff on the whole. So they know how Star Trek should be done. So if they're looking at something like Section 31 and going, these idiots, what are they thinking? Then, yeah, I'm completely on board with it. Airing for 2 seasons, the article goes on to say, in 1973 and 1974, Star Trek, the animated series, hit just as a new wave of popularity of the original show was coming out. The entire cast reprised their voice roles, with several episodes using unproduced, the original series scripts. The show was able to use the freedom of animation for more outlandish planets, alien races, and new characters like the feline Maress and the 3-armed Arix. Characters that wouldn't have been able to be done in the original series. And this is something I do actually argue about animated projects quite a lot, that they can work, particularly when doing the live-action version of something would just be too expensive. Our beloved Star Trek, I argued recently, do an animated project to get that franchise back up and running. Wouldn't cost much, could work. They tried it with Babylon 5. They did the Road Home movie. It actually did pretty well, but DVD sales fell off a cliff. And it wasn't quite good enough to bring back the Babylon 5 reimagined project that they were hoping to do, and that J. Michael Straczynski went as far as writing the script for. Why do I think that they didn't actually get this done? To set up an animation project for one thing would be relatively easy to do, because you just bring in a company that's already doing animation to do it. So it's just a matter really of writing them a check and sending them a script. But deciding how the show would then look, etc., would require significant effort. When he says, well, for many reasons didn't happen, I think there's probably a couple here. I can't imagine people over at Paramount were massively excited about the idea, because Strange New Worlds and Star Trek as a whole is already incredibly divisive. And after the musical, and really incredibly divisive project and idea, I really think it would have been suicidal almost to then do this animated episode. I just think it might have been a quirky little episode, fun thing, too far. you guys know my feelings on Strange New Worlds. I think when it's good, it's great. But when it's bad, it's really bad. And by them constantly trying to mess with genre, which is, again, an extension of what this is, it's wanting them to mess with different genres. When you've only got 10 episodes a season, though, I really think they're trying to have a little bit too much fun in the writer's room and, this production staff. And rather than thinking about actually doing Star Trek, they keep thinking about what can they do a bit different? What can they do that will surprise people? And that's okay, I suppose, but maybe not quite as much as they are. I would say 1 episode a season you can play with if you've only got 10 episodes, that you can do something a bit outlandish. And I would also say you really shouldn't be doing that until the 3rd or 4th season. You really should establish everything first and get going. I always think about Stargate and the 200th episode, where they just let the writers go nuts. That's fine, because it was the 200th episode. By that point, you've got a legacy. You have got your fans. You've got fans that will get the quirkiness of the episode and basically how silly it was, and would forgive how silly it was, even if it's a bad episode, which, to be fair, the 200th episode was not great. But we love it because it sort of poked fun at the 199 episodes that come before it. Strange New World seems to be trying to, in this case, run before it can walk, and it's starting to do quirky episodes really heavily in the 2nd season. And for me, it's just not the right time. But I do think Paramount saying, look, I'm not sure about this, and them having one eye on the horizon of Skydance coming and a new contract having to be negotiated, I think that might have been a risk too far. And I think even though Secret Hideout have really got creative control, and if they really wanted to do this and could fund it, they would have done, I think Paramount leaning on them going, don't risk it, is probably why they didn't. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. The original animated series, particularly if maybe they'd have done it in that style, could that have worked? Would it have been a wave of nostalgia or just a cringeworthy embarrassment? I actually genuinely think if they'd done it in the 1970s style, it would have been awful. But I don't know. Do you think as well, and I'd love to know what you think here, that, well, look, we're getting 2 or 3 quirky episodes again this season. Is that okay if you're doing 24 episodes? Or is it just taking the mick when you've only got 10? I'd love to know what you think. Get in the comments. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe with the bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of the channel and get to see lots of stuff before everybody else. Go check that out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time. And long live Star Trek. Even if they do an animated episode that I would probably hate.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.